What's up, guys? We're going to do a little mount. We're going to mount some tires and we're going to set them up for dry tire. And then we're going to prep them, soften them, stuff like that, and get them ready. So I'm going to do some old schools right now. I've had them. I want to try them out. I've got some pretty good times on these back in the day. Now dry tires coming back a little bit. So we're going to go back to our roots and see what they do. So these are reaction oranges. I picked these specifically because of the compound. I know they last a long time, and I know I can get them to work. Some of the softer compounds and stuff like that, if you are in a really competitive area, you might want to run the softer compounds. But to have fun dry tire, you got to have something that lasts, you can test with, and you're not going to get discouraged. You're not going to waste a bunch of money on tires. If you notice my choice of tires, like I use Surreals. These are some old Surreals. I should have took them off my car, but I got the newer versions on my car right now. I've got whites on them. These are the old super softs, and I'm going to do some tricks with these. Because they have a softer sidewall. I'm going to try some stuff. I'll probably do another video on that, especially if it works. So, but the whole key is, I know I can make these work. I know these can run good times. As a matter of fact, I ran faster times than what these guys are putting out right now. So it's kind of like a learning curve and starting all over. But we're just going to mount them up real quick. So I took them out of the package. These have been sitting around for God knows how long. I've probably got 5 or 6 sets that have just been sitting here. The tire stuff is all over them. I'll use some brake clean. Take my old dirty rag. Soak it down. Alright. Get it nice and wet. And we're going to go over the beads. We're not worried about the rest of the tire, at least for now. We just want our glue to stick. Some people use simple green, stuff like that. I don't use it, and I'm not going to say it doesn't work. It works fine. Simple green does. But I like using brake clean because brake clean is actually designed to take any oil residues and get rid of them. So as long as you're getting this bead wet with brake clean and wiping it, it's going to be good enough. It's going to stick, and it's going to stick very well. Your glue is. So I'll just stick a little more, get it wet again. Okay, that's what you want to see. You want to see it wet when you wipe it. All right, that means that brake clean's getting in there. Don't forget to do the inside of the lip too, because your glue gets down in there and has to stick too. Now, what I probably should have done before is take these and chunk them, because we're not going to use them. And that's an old trick that I believe came out of the 480 group, 480, if you know how to say it right. Basically, reactors have a really tough sidewall, so they can run without a foam and they will support the car. They are a little bit heavier than normal tires. Everybody tries to tell you that that's going to cost you time and that's going to do that, but like I said, we were running better times on these back in the day than what they're doing now. So I'm going to flip them inside out. And here's another little trick we do, especially dry tire, because you want as much flex as possible. We are going to cut these. And what I might do is just kind of show you how I go around, and then we'll stop the video and then voila, they're going to be done. But that's what we do. Just take a pair of scissors, cut the ribs out. We're going to go through, we're also going to cut this off. Alright, so let's see if, now when you cut these off, you got to make sure you don't cut into the tire and cut through the tire. So you just want to cut evenly. So we'll stop it right here, and then when we come back, it's going to be all done. So we're back, and they're magically cut off. When you cut them off, you're going to get something that kind of looks like that. It's alright, just throw it away. I am not a stickler for perfect tires. Alright. To me, these are wear items, stuff like that. These tires are pretty heavy too, so I'm not really too worried about imbalance and all that fun stuff. You can get really technical if you want, but we're not running foams. These things, when you run them, are going to be squished down. Not that far, obviously, probably like that. Balancing does not make a difference with these. Alright, I'll tell you that right now. I'll tell you that right now. As long as they're mounted on there good and they're mounted on there straight, you're good. So, our brake clean is dried on our bead. And we're going to go over it one more time. Just to make sure all of that stuff is off of there. Plus, I just cut this stuff out, so my fingers were all over it, even though I have gloves on. I'd like to point that out. I have gloves on. Some of the chemicals we use and stuff like that, I don't want to go into it, but there's been a bunch of hubbub about it. So there you go. Now, rims. All I had was some Showtime rims. I like the design of the Showtime rims. I'm not going to run the wides. Alright, so as you can see with my scissors, I cut around. Alright, now I could take some sandpaper, make it perfect, and do all that stuff. I'm not going to do that because I don't feel it's not needed. It takes the fun out of it when you get too anal about stuff. Like I said, I did with the same. Now, the reason I'm not running wides. Alright, we'll put these in. I'll kind of explain my theory. My theories are not always right, but they do. Usually it's trial and error, and I see what works best. See, as I'm going through, I'm just kind of making sure that bead sits in there perfect. Making sure that bead sits in there perfect. Alright. Now, my theory with wides, on especially something with dry tire, is different than prep, is like for this instance right here, we're not using foams. Whoops. We get the pop out. Yeah, we get the pop out. So we want this tire to go perfectly on there before we even attempt to glue anything. We want to make sure it's straight on there. It's not sticking out anywhere abnormally. It's sitting in its groove. And we can call that one good for now. My theory with that, with the wides, is obviously we're not running foams. We are planning on having sidewalls to support the car. So we don't want to lose strength. Alright, so when you push down on this, you want it to be somewhat stiff. Alright, I mean, obviously it's going to be softer than most tires and stuff that use a foam. But you want some strength here. You want some up and down strength. Now what happens if you widen it? So you bring the tire out to here. Your sidewall is at an angle. Now if you go to press down, you're going to lose strength on a wide tire. you're going to lose that squat strength, that support. So that's why I use a standard size when I do dry tire. Standard size rim. Now, the reasoning for the wide tires, I think the advantage of what we did with the wide tires and stuff like that, and why Surreal's gone wide tire and stuff like that, is because when you get up to speeds, all these tires, I don't care what brand, they do it at different rates, they will stretch. So as you can see, a lot of the new tires that we use now for prep, they are kind of rounded. Alright, they're not squared off kind of like this tire. I mean, although these do have round sides, they are kind of squared off compared to what we run today with prep. And the reason is because these sidewalls, basically as they're spinning, they stretch. Alright, some stretch very little, some stretch a lot. These actually stretch very little. Alright, fun fact there. I've kind of tested that, stuff like that. And I don't want to get into brands because then somebody's just going to say that I'm just talking shit about their brand. All these tires do it. So when you run a wide, that is the advantage of that. Is because when you get up in the RPMs, you get up in the speed, stuff like that, these tires will not stretch as much with a wide rim. Any other tire out there will not stretch as much with a wide rim. So these are very durable though, and they don't really stretch. You probably got the least amount of stretch in the sidewall. Alright, as these wear down, you will always see on the edges, that's where they wear through. Alright, unless you have some alignment issues that are way off and it starts wearing somewhere else, you will always see them start to wear through on the edges. And that's because of sidewall stretch. But anyways, we're going to glue this. Now you could get fancy, you can put the tire bands on, you can do whatever you want, or you can go like this route where I'm cheap, so I don't have tire bands, but this is Velcro, double-sided, so you got hook and loop on one side, and then you can spend all this time like wrapping it up and getting it over there, getting it tight, and like putting it down so that your beads just stay there just right, and all that stuff. You know, you could do all that, or you can just fucking glue them. You know, like I said, I don't get too picky on this stuff. I don't want to get too picky on this stuff. This stuff is a hobby for me. I might sell tire heaters, I might sell prep, but it's a hobby for me, and when somebody gets too serious about it, it's kind of a turn off. So, let's see. Oh, actually, I wanted to show you that before I do anything. So this is, I can't forget the brand. Anyways, they call it IC2000. If you look really close, right above it, it says carbon and rubber toughened. It's very true. This glue is actually very good, and a lot of people give this glue a bad name because they don't know how to glue tires. The truth is, this glue is not a 45-second glue. It will harden up in 45 seconds or whatever, but you want to let it sit all night. And that's part of my reason for doing this video, because I can shut this off after I do this and then come right back to it the next day. And that's what we're going to do. So we'll glue these up. And the reason I give it all night is because we are going to drench these things with conditioners. Alright, so we want to make sure our glue is completely dried up. Like I said, I'm not getting too picky here. I'm just pulling the bead away, pushing it back in. I don't do it for the looks. I'm not trying to be scale. This is racing, and I put a lot of glue in there because I don't want it to come off. Some people make fun of that. They can do whatever they do, but I can say Except for one instance, I've never had glue come undone. And I figured out why that glue came undone, and it kind of pissed me off because there's about a $4,000 trip for me that I blew every set of tires I had off, and that was the conditioner I used. I did a little testing on the conditioner, and I found out they put acetone in it, which anybody knows acetone eats glue, tire glue specifically. So that's why I said, you know, you have to understand what you're using, what's in it, how you use it, because it'll bite you in the butt, especially if you don't know little things like that. Now, what was happening was I was taking that conditioner, I was putting it on, heating it up before I prepped my tires, which it basically gave it a good surface for the prep to stick to, because it dried the tire out. But the ingredient that was drying the tire out also ate the glue off my tires. So even though I wasn't putting it on the sidewall, what was happening is when I heat the tire, it would soak it in, and then it'd end up working its way down the sidewall. And then it would come out where the glue was, and it would eat the glue. So literally, between testing one day and the first couple rounds of COTS, I believe it was, I blew off every bead on every tire I had. And literally my first round run was a crapshoot, because I just threw some glue on there praying it would hold, and it didn't hold. So now what we'll do is we'll let these kind of sit here. I put these down on the table because obviously the other side isn't glued yet. Now if I flip this tire over and I put it down in here, I'm going to get glue on my plate. It's going to stick to the plate. So I'm going to take a bottle, a prep bottle, alright, and go like that, and then we're just going to glue the other side. I can take it in my hands right now and do it. I'm trying to do it where you guys can see it though. But I'm not laying the tire down until I get this bead going all the way around. I'm just peeling it back, and then I dump my glue in there. I don't have to worry about the foams getting mixed in with the glue. I don't have to worry about anything. Just as long as it's on there good. And I got every portion of it covered with glue. This is also a biggie. If you run air, you don't want to have little pieces missing, little gaps. So there we go. And then, like I said, I got some glue on that side, which I'm not worried about it. I'll just sit it like that, sit it off to the side. That way if the glue runs off or whatever, it runs straight down. It doesn't run onto this and make it stick to this. This is obviously still wet, so we're going to do this the same way, kind of at an angle. But it's had a couple seconds to kind of dry up a little bit, so it's not going to move around on you. But like I said, this is a rubberized type glue. It's got a little more flex in it. Like I said, it gets a bad rap. I think it's mainly because a lot of people don't understand that you have to let it sit for a night to dry. I mean, it does harden up within that 45 seconds or whatever, like the rest of the glues, but you really have to cure all the way through. And like I said, I'm not worried about it going over the edges. Matter of fact, I want it to go over the edges because I get an absolute seal. Alright. I'm probably not going to run air in these. I don't want to run air. It's just too it's not dependable. So, wet side up. I'll just check this. It went off a little bit, but not much. And like I said, I'm not worried about looks. We're going to let these sit here. I'm going to throw this away. And then we'll come back to you when this is all dried up. And then we'll start doing some conditioning. If you notice, I haven't washed the tires yet. I just did the beads, that's all I did. And we'll come back, we'll kind of explain some of the stuff. And we'll go into the softening and how we start, what we do. Alright, we'll be right back. And we're back. So our tires have had a chance to dry up. Our glue is cured all the way through. What I have is 2 plates here. We're going to start conditioning. Alright, I have little prep bottles. You can use anything you want. Like I said, these are handy, so they're sitting around here, so I'm using them. What I'm going to do, and it's going to be a little different compared to what most people do, is I'm going to use a 408 rubber renew. That's going to be my first coat. The reason I use this is because it has a chemical called xylene that will open the pores. Not only that, but it also has wintergreen in it. So it's basically a mix of wintergreen and xylene. If you know xylene is a very harsh chemical. They use it in paint strippers. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. What it will do is open up the pores. The wintergreen will actually cause the rubber to swell. So you have basically you're going to open up the pores on your first coat of this stuff. Alright, so we're just going to take a rag, shake it on there a little bit. As you can see, I'm not using a dauber. There's a reason for that, because I'm not going to put this on really thick. I'm going to use this to wipe the tire down. Alright, so let's see if we can get a little bit wetter. I have my gloves on. Alright, we'll get nice and wet. You see how wintergreen dries really quick? It's one of the only oils out there that has that type of characteristic. There's also some other oils like linseed oil that evaporate, and there's a couple other ones. They're kind of hard to get, and they're used in specific stuff that they're not really worth chasing, I guess you could say. Fairly expensive. Wintergreen is fairly expensive. It's actually extremely expensive. Now, if you see there, let me focus on it. I haven't sanded these tires. I haven't done anything to them. But I'm starting to get that sheen going. So, obviously it's got an odor to it. You want to do this in a ventilated area. I'm in my garage right now with the doors open. If you listen really carefully, you can hear crickets in my videos. Even wipe the sidewall a little bit. Alright, as you can see, I didn't put that on there very heavy. That is not the purpose of this chemical. You want to put this chemical on there heavy, you're going to have problems. Alright, I put it in my rag. I get the tire nice and wet the first coat. I just kind of go over, scrub it. And I keep going over it. This stuff evaporates pretty quick. And like I said, I'm rubbing it on. I'm not putting it on the dauber, not getting it really juicy and wet and all that good stuff. Quick wipe on the side. I don't focus on the sides. Let's see, we still got a little bit. This is very quick drying. So you got a combination of wintergreen, which dries very quick, and you got a combination of xylene that dries very quick, evaporates very quick. Basically, that opens the pores up a little bit. All right, and that's to set it up for my conditioner. All right, I'm going to use Cherry Bomb. Sticky Icky makes this stuff. I don't know if you know Kelly Ray, I guess his name is. I always mispronounce his name. This stuff you can buy online. Like I said, because of the chemicals that are in this, you do not use this only as a first coat of anything. If these tires sit around for 3 months to 6 months or something like that, I might rub it down with this again. This is an old trick I learned from restoring cars, old rubber parts, stuff like that. We used to use this stuff on. It'll kind of bring back the rubber and freshen it back up. It basically opens the pores and sends the wintergreen inside those pores, and basically gives it a fresh surface. Now this stuff, my first coat of this stuff, I'm just going to daub it on. So we're just going to take it, dip it in, we're going to put it on. We're not going to wipe it, we're not going to do anything. We're going to put it on pretty thick. And I'm not doing the sidewalls. If some of it runs on the sidewalls, that's fine. You know, this is going to be our first coat. So anytime you put this stuff on, it really doesn't matter how many times you go around. You just want a even coat. If you put it on thicker, it doesn't really help any. I mean, you obviously want it wet, but the thicker it is, it really doesn't help, because it's going to go on as thick as it needs to be. I mean, that's just the nature of it. So what really helps is when you do coat after coat, you let it dry, and then you do another coat, or whatever the case may be. So we are going to let these sit there for a while, and this is going to probably be a multi-step video. But as you can see, the Rubber Renew, it obviously evaporated very quickly. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's got xylene in it and the wintergreen and stuff like that. This stuff has a wintergreen in it as well, but it has some other oils and stuff like that, and that's why it'll stay wet for a little while. So we'll be right back, and when we come back, this tire is going to be all dry because we're going to let it sit. All right, and back again. I came back, it's been about an hour. Went in and watched a TV show, came back out. No sense of wasting time watching prep dry. I was about to say paint. So we're going to take our conditioner, going to do one more coat. If you didn't see, I shook that up. It's always a good idea, no matter what you got. There's a couple different chemicals in there. You just kind of shake it up so everything's kind of even. We're just soaking it down, doing it over the plate, so if I drip any, it'll be alright. Staying away from the sidewalls. If it drips down on the sidewalls, I'm not too concerned about it. And this is going to be our second coat. If you noticed, I'm not using heat. I'm not using anything right now. Heat's going to come later. So, if you see runs, like that's got some runs, just spread it around. That way the whole tire is getting the same amount on it. And we'll probably take a rag. I'll take my old rag and kind of just brush it a little bit. I don't like softening the sidewalls. I never have. So I just usually brush it around just so that it's even and there isn't a big drip spot on it. Like this. And then I'll rub the inside. I try to keep it away from my glue. Like I said, no matter what's in this stuff, the chemicals will eat glue. I mean, and you see people that have problems with the glue. And I've even learned it myself, so I'm very cautious of it. But we'll come back and we will do probably the final step in conditioning these. And then we'll go into some of the other stuff. We'll be right back. And we're back. This coat took a little bit longer to dry. The reason being is because now you're starting to get it built into the rubber. It's starting to saturate the tire. As you can see, it's still a little bit wet. So you'll notice that. Alright, and what we're going to do is we're going to do our final step as far as conditioning. As you notice, I haven't been heating or doing anything like that because I want this stuff to work itself in. I don't want to force it in there. We'll get to heating and stuff like that and probably some other videos. But for now, we're just going to do the condition process, and this is what this video is going to be about. So we're going to do our final step, which is the same one, cherry bomb. I think Kelly might be doing a video, so he'll kind of show you how he does his, which he's kind of the expert on it because it's his prep. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to soak this thing. Alright, not only that, but I'm getting the sidewall wet. Alright, I can do that because these are reactions. Alright. That's gonna stir some shit right there. Notice I only did one coat on the sidewalls, and the reason I'm doing that is because you're about to see why. I'm going to take these. I got my plastic bag. So we've done 3 coats. Alright, we know the tire's saturated because this last coat that I did, the first coat took about 30 minutes maybe. When I came out, it was dry. It was probably an hour I came out, and the second coat still hadn't dried all the way through. But it was dry enough to put my third coat on. So what we're doing with the third coat is we're sticking it in our bag. We'll stick 2 tires in there. We'll seal it up, and then we are done. Alright, we're going to leave those overnight. When we get them out in the morning, they are going to be soft. What's up, guys? We're back. I let them sit for a day, so we're going to take them out of the bag and see what they're like. This is pretty much the final step in conditioning. Like I said, it's a process, but as you can see, they're very pliable right now. Alright, very squishy. These reaction tires are very thick carcass. They last a long time. They were probably, to me, as far as just going out and having fun and being able to run and run and run, this is kind of my choice. I've been using these. They're very good. These are the originals. These are the originals. So these are actually old tires. I have a set on my other car that I've been running. They're very sticky. But like I said, they're thin carcass, stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with them other than you're going to go through tires more. That's just all there is to it. Where these are big, heavy duty. They're heavy. I have good times on these, stuff like that. And actually, the reason I chose these reactions is because I have a hobby shop car. So we have some local racing going on right now, and I want to just be able to go out there with stuff that I bought from a hobby shop, all right, and run it like that. So we'll probably do a second video, and what I'll do, I'll go more over race prep and stuff like that. Right now, you can see we have one day we glued them, and then we let them sit overnight. The next day we prepped them, and then we let them sit overnight, and now we are with our finished product. If you took these, put these on a car, did a carpet burnout, they would be sticky. They would get very sticky, actually. I've got times on these that will probably beat most of the times that are being put out there right now. So these are not tires of the past. These are tires that will work even today. So, and I'm not advertising for Proline specifically or anything like that. I just want to go over a good, decent tire that's going to last a long time. I've seen some posts up there about tires getting chewed up and stuff like that, which is kind of normal for dry tire, but you have to realize the type of tire you're using. You know, just picking the softest compound is not going to be the most cost friendly, I would say. And I would definitely say that availability is key in dry tire. That's just, there's nothing that's going to change about that. Alright, there was a time where you couldn't get these. I mean, it was a struggle to get these. So, shout out to the companies that meet demand and stuff like that. I have, if you see in the corner, my shop car. I don't want to pick it up right now. It's tied down. But I have Surreals on that. I've been using those. Those work excellent, actually. I got the new version and I got the old version. Like I said, these are the old versions. I got the new versions on my car right now. I got the whites. With a little bit of oil and stuff like that, they seem to be lasting. I do not plan the Surreals to last as long as these. That's just, I mean, that's just basic common sense because they're a thinner tire. But with the oil preps and stuff like that, you shouldn't have an issue, especially with the carpet burnout. What I'm going to go into probably with race is this is kind of what I use, and this is to stick it when I'm out there testing, when I'm out there racing, stuff like that. I'll actually clean with this, which people will tell you don't do that, but I do it. I simply put it on a rag, wipe down. That's it. I don't let it sit on there or anything, but I use it to clean. It does help. And I use this, which is kind of my own little trick that I use. We'll get into that a little bit later. I'm going to do a second video for that stuff. So, but anyways, I hope this helps you guys out. This tire is filled with oil now. I am not going to be using any brake cleans on it. I'm not going to be using any naphthas on it. I'm not going to be using anything. If anything, I'm going to be cleaning with this or just a rag, and I'm going to be putting this on. So, and we'll get into the heating. We'll get into some of that stuff in the next video. Alright, thank you guys.